Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, and this is a video that honestly I probably should have did a long time ago, but I'm going to end up talking a little bit about some of the little mechanics they have in this game where people might have a misconception about it. Now, first and foremost, this is one that's kind of obvious to people. We might have quite a few more rewards. Today's the day we're doing the ultimate fights, but honestly it's also a Sunday, so I kind of need to get some leveling because I got some stuff done all the way up to max for some characters. But anyways, this is stuff that might have a little bit of a misconception, and I want to put my take on it. So there's no guarantee that I'm right about this. First and foremost, I want to get that out the door. But there's a few things that people might be a little bit misconception about. Now, first and foremost, the deal with getting Ori Child comes and all that. Now, we have multiple ways to do so, so if you really do want to go through the task of final breaking your weapons, then yeah. And then doing so honestly could only benefit you because it will increase the maximum level and skill level of the weapons when you do so, but it's been stressed before that you should just absolutely go after every single final break weapon. I wouldn't say that's the case, and the reason being is because of the fact that the Ori Child is not exactly easy to come by, because right now we have only two methods to do so: Guild Order and the Ragnarok raid battles, the permanent Ragnarok raid fights. And either one is not exactly easy to go through. I mean, you have a better chance of the Ragnarok ones because you can jump in there with other people. But Guild Order, you still have to be pretty strong. I would say that if you want to reasonably clear Guild Order, get a team, hopefully that doesn't have an elemental weakness, that has about my rating right here, and get a crap ton of Assault on there, at least 100%. Even then, you might still get your ass handed to you because you know you need HP. But that's the thing. When it comes to pretty much having to deal with any of these guild orders or the Ragnarok raid battles, they can be very, very difficult. Even with how strong my team is, a few of them can still actually kill me if I do things wrong. So I have to be very careful with how I manage things. And that's the whole problem with those fights. Like, sure, the raid battles, you can keep using the elixirs, and honestly, that's the one time I actually would use them. Because you want to still be able to actually get the rewards. So, that's probably the one time I'd recommend that. But Guild Order, you're not allowed to use an elixir. So, that's the thing that kind of kills it. And if you really want to be honest, aside from the skill level increase, you're not getting too much out of the final breaking your weapons, because some don't even give you too many good effects. Like, say, there's a few final breaks that will give you something like, say, critical or maybe ascension, where you get more healing power. Honestly, there's easy ways around that. So it's more or less your own preference, to be quite honest. And then, not to mention, granted, skill level 30 is very, very strong. I have a weapon that has both Assault and Defender, but it also goes up to skill level 30. It's on my light grid. It is amazingly strong. I'm not going to lie about that one. Because with the right abilities, they can really do some serious help for you. However, it's not something you have to immediately strive for, because, again, it is difficult to get the Ori Child. And you honestly don't even want to use the Ori Child for old weapons. Like, that's another thing. You really shouldn't try to do that one. That's something I can agree with. But here's the thing. If you're not going after the Ori Child to final break stuff, then your best alternative is to find SSR weapons that come with 2 effects. I have a crap ton of them, and that's why my light grid is so strong. So there's that. Like, I literally have 19 skill effects on Herc, 18 on my others for my light grid. That's how they gotten so strong. All those dual effect weapons, those are the ones that have the highest priority. Especially if it's a dual effect weapon that can final break, because if it is, then hey, guess what? The dual effects are going to get even stronger. And eventually, that's how we'll lead to triple effect weapons. That's when you probably want to consider getting the RH outcomes and all that. Because there are going to be better weapons down the line. There's going to be some that come with two effects where it'll be like an assault and a defender. But then, next thing you know, the assault and defender get merged into one skill, and you get another skill on top of it. So, it's really more about timing and preference, if you really want to be honest. And actually, this is the EXP quest. It don't matter who I pick. Because I'll smite them all the same with this team. And interestingly enough, I got a lot of light SSR that need leveling on there. Go figure. But, the other thing, too, because you've already seen me do it. The thing about auto battle. Now, there's a bit of misconception about this one, too, where it said that, oh, you should be getting auto battle. I mean, you should be getting strong enough to auto battle. It's fine if you can. And quite frankly, auto battle with just normal attacks is pretty freaking convenient. But it's not something you normally should strive for. Because again, that's something where it's like, and honestly, this has led to a little bit of an elitist type of mindset on this game too at some point. So you got to be careful about that. Because again, it's not that serious. It's still a game. First and foremost, do not ever get too serious about a game. I mean, granted, this is coming from somebody that dropped a lot of money on a gacha, but still, it's the fact that at the end of the day, it's still a game. It's still about how much you value it, not how much you really have to put your life into it. But the misconception about auto battle, thing is, auto ability battle is really overrated. I have to admit that. Oh yes, I was waiting on some stuff for this, but I gotta get her a level 75. Auto ability battle is a huge misconception. Now, the regular auto battle where it just does nothing but normal attacks, that's all fine and good. Especially in stuff like this where I could just sit up and set it to auto battle and just not even have to touch a thing. It lets me do other things, if you really want to be honest. Like, I could be playing another game, like, I play Shin Nezuki, you've probably seen a video about that. I could be playing that off my phone while I set this on auto battle all the time. It helps you manage multiple things. But, and then, if enemies are pretty weak, then yeah, auto battle, run straight through them. You don't have to touch a single thing, and it's faster that way too, it honestly is. But auto ability battle is where the misconception comes in, because the thing with auto ability battle is the fact that it doesn't take the most optimal setups. If you really are trying to get the most out of your team, auto ability battle sucks horribly. Because the way it will work is, say, you see how everybody on my team has 3 skills, and then Herc got 4? It will go through Hercules' 4 skills, and then it will go through Tish's, then it will go through Michael's, and it will go through Tsukiyomi's, and then ends with Artemis. But it will do Herc's first skill, which is a damaging one, then use the buffs. Anybody that knows about Herc knows that she needs the buffs to make that damaging skill do more. And then on top of that, my debuffers, which can increase the damage as well, are further down. Michael has a skill that can add more buffs for even more damage output. See, you see what I'm getting at. It uses that stuff out of order. I don't see what the huge hype is about auto ability battle, but it sucks. It absolutely sucks. And that's not even opinion, that's a proven fact. You're using so much out of order, it makes no sense. And then some things you may not even need. Like, say I don't even need Tish's healing. It will still use it anyway. So, that's the whole thing. Or if I'm in burst time, and I don't need the burst gauge increase from Michael because I don't have her second effect just yet. That's level 75. It will use that, give 20 burst gauge to everybody and nothing more. Hey, guess what? My burst gauges are already filled. There's no point. So auto ability battle, very, very overrated. Like, don't be fooled by that. You're better off either using the normal auto battle, just so you get normal attacks all throughout the gate, or if you are going to use auto ability battle, use the ones you're meant to use first, and then let the other ones run through, if you have nothing you're trying to save up. You have to use it very, very correctly to really get some mileage out of it. Not to mention, this is another little misconception. Now, you may notice that little reload icon that's in your fights. That actually does indeed speed things up. It's not something to use if, say, things screw up. Like, there's a few times I'll see my abilities, like, cancel out and I can't use them. So I have to hit that reload icon down there in the corner, and it'll set them straight. If you want to be honest, it does indeed speed things up. I'm not sitting there with all these attacks and whatnot, and have to go through all the death animations and whatnot. Like, I'll use it right now, in fact. Once that starts up, hit reload, I'm automatically in stage 3. Don't have to wait for the attacks and all that. It actually is indeed faster, depending on how you use it, especially when burst goes off. Okay, that was unintended. I got a little error because I guess it didn't load it correctly or whatever. But, yeah, the reload thing can actually speed things up if you are pressed for time. It is very, very good in burst time, because you'll skip the full burst. All the damage is already calculated. There you go. Because when it says connecting, it's loading all the damage data and all that from those attacks. Then it will send the info to play the animations. What you're essentially doing is skipping the animations and just getting the end result. That's basically what it is. And I'm probably going to have to go in here to accept my rewards. It's going to have to reload the thing. But, the reload icon is actually underrated, not overrated. If you're pressed for time, definitely go to it. And just hit the button. You'll speed things up a lot. I've posted a video a long time ago where somebody actually sold the Guardian Angel raid. I think it was a Thunder Guardian Angel raid with their win team, which is harder than the Ragnarok fights we have right now, by the way. But they kept hitting that reload icon, and it actually sped the thing up. The video was like a good 20 minutes long, I do believe. And they did like 60 rounds of attacks on that thing. Imagine how much longer it'd be if they wasn't hitting the reload. So yeah. And by the way, Sunday is so great for getting mastery points. If you're trying to get those for your characters, yeah, that's something to know about. Which leads to another misconception, in fact. The whole thing with the soul points being used for the mastery points. Honestly, well, how easily you can get the normal soul points, I can even get another mastery point right now off of that. But the normal soul points, yeah, it's worth it. The holy soul points, however, is not. Because you don't get too many of those. Now, granted, I have nothing else to use them on. I have every soul in the game, so that's the point where you can blow your holy soul points in order to get mastery points. But save those until you have all your souls, and then use the holy soul points. But the regular soul points, by all means, feed them to your stuff. It's very easy to get them. You can get like 600 for some events now. That's a lot. Not to mention, you get like 30 every level up. I'm rank 103. That means I got 30 soul points times 103. And to be quite honest, if I didn't spend those, that's a lot. If I got every single soul point I could ever have, period, point blank, from the start of the game till now, then amazingly, that would be about, it's at least a good 10, 20k. So yeah, that's incredible. It might even be past 30k. So that's a lot of mastery points, if you want to be honest. There's probably enough mastery points for every single soul, period, point blank. Assuming I unlocked them all. But, that's the whole thing with that. It's another case of you have to be smart about it. And that really is what all these misconceptions come down to. You have to be smart about how you go about things. Because another misconception is why I also did the stuff that you should look for in a Kamihime and all that. There's a misconception about buffs for some weird reason. Because, granted, they don't last as long as debuffs. They don't last nowhere near as long as debuffs. Because buffs will generally last anywhere between 1 to maybe 5 turns. You might get 10 or 20 if they're stackable, but that's the whole point about stackable buffs. You have to keep going so far into the fight in order to get the stackables. But buffs are underrated. Because, hey, guess what? When your debuffs aren't landing, which can happen in some fights because some enemies have high resistances or just so much resistance that you'll rarely see one even land, all you have is buffs for extra damage. What you want to do then if you had a team so focused on debuffs that they don't even have any buffers? So, yeah, don't underestimate buffs. They are very, very powerful. And then there's also another misconception too about what you should try to spend on in events and all that. The whole reason I leave that so vague, especially when it comes to Tower of Malice, the whole reason I leave that so vague is because of the simple fact that you still have to play your own account. What you spend on is on you. You don't have to throw money at the game. You don't have to get the all-powerful SSR break limit items. You don't have to go get SSR weapons when you don't need them. Like, that's the whole thing about that. It's up to you. Granted, I went through so many events on this game, I really should have SSR weapons for every single grid, but I don't. Because, first off, I have a life outside this game. And then, second is the simple fact that some things I just didn't want. Like, I can have a full grid of SSR water weapons, but not all of them would be assault. I would have to fill the gap with pride weapons. Well, to be quite honest, I got rid of quite a few pride weapons. Now, granted, they can be pretty strong, but you have to have your HP drop pretty low. Because unless your HP starts getting really, really low, those pride weapons are essentially like small assault, which is R weapons. I'd have better mileage out of SR weapons if that was the case. Oh, thank God she finally got the plus value on that. But that's the whole thing with it. It's still a matter of preference at the end of the day. And, well, everybody has their own ways of handling things. I have no pride weapons or ascension weapons on my light grid. You still see how strong they are though, right? If you see my videos, you still see how strong they are. I have a few pride weapons for my fire teams because they actually need as much offensive power as they can get because that's how they function. My fire teams can also self-buff and get a lot of team buffs and whatnot and do as much damage as my light teams. However, once those buffs run out, they're weaker. So, that's the whole thing with that. And to be quite honest, I can even see some uses like now that they popped up the Rage Dragoons because your combo rate goes up. You're not getting that much attack power, granted, but your combo rate goes up. If you get 2 hits off, that is essentially double damage. If you get 3 hits off, that is essentially triple damage. It's work with what you can get. I've even seen somebody use the Phantom Golem, which we can get, combined with SSR Diablos, which somebody had later down the line. They did more damage than my light team. And we're talking about a team that's got 130% assault. And pretty decent access to elemental attack right now as is. I can get 75% elemental attack without the help of a friend. So that's a lot of power. And they still outdamage me. Mind you, this is the DMM side, which had better access to some stuff. And like I said, they had SSR Diablos. But, again, it's like, ultimately, when it all comes down to it, do what works best for you. Like, I can tell you a few things, other people can tell you a few things. They can even be proven right or proven wrong, because it goes both ways. But at the end of the day, you still have to make your own decisions. You still have to make your own choices, and that's the whole thing about it. And that's why I wanted to do this type of video. But, like I said, don't feel so obligated to get the Yori Child Code. They'll come naturally if you're going after certain things. Don't feel so obligated to be able to auto battle or anything like that. Don't feel so obligated to get certain weapons or certain things because you may have other plans. If you really want to try to get the most out of your teams, then maybe you should go after some of this stuff, but you shouldn't feel obligated about it, because at the end of the day, there's still one thing that matters and one thing that matters alone: clearing the content. If you can beat it with a team that's doing only 10,000 per hit, have at it. If you feel like you need a team that has no... Well, wow, I got a Monog Armor finally. If you feel like you need a team that has no HP increases but all raw power, so they're pretty much glass cannons, have at it. If you feel like a team that should focus completely on ability damage, again, have at it. At the end of the day, all that matters is if you clear the content. Because if you need to use an elixir to revive yourself, you're doing something wrong. Everything can eventually be cleared without an elixir. Period. Everything. Even when we get harder content down the line, like the Guardian Angel fights I mentioned, those are raid bosses where they're harder than our current Ragnarok fights. Our current Ragnarok fights have a grand total of like maybe 150,000, maybe 150 million to maybe 170 million HP between all the enemies. Usually. The Guardian Angel fight's going to have 200 million, and those enemies are going to be level 100. So yeah, that's something to know. And when somebody can clear a Guardian Angel fight solo with no elixirs used, yeah, that proves it. Granted, they might have had super high level whale tactics, but at the same time, it still proves that you can do everything without an elixir. All that matters is that you clear the content. Period. Like, believe what you want to believe about certain weapons or things and all that. That's fine, we have our own opinions. But at the end of the day, if you are using an elixir to clear content, you're doing something wrong. Like, I'll even flat out say this. The current team I have right now, there's a few cases where I might need an elixir in order to clear an accessory quest. I did something wrong there. What was I doing wrong? Not having Soul on the front line to have a healer. Yeah, it can be something that simple. So, on that note, I'm going to leave things there. There might be more of this coming soon, but I don't know for sure because we've seen so much of the Union fights, I don't feel obligated to record those anymore. They're going to keep repeating and repeating until the end of this game. That's just how it is. So there's going to be plenty of chances of getting the Wilms if you want. And honestly, I would say this. Hold on to the Phantom Wilms. Because when it comes to grinding out for EXP like I'm doing right now, I have a light focus team so I can do it with them. But normally I have a mixed element team. So I suggest holding on to the Wilms. Because you missed your chance at Vlad if you don't have her already. So your next best bet is to have the Phantom Wilms. I'm going to hold on to every copy that I got of the Phantom Wilm and level her up. I'm intending on doing that. Because if I have more than 3 elements, it's better to use a Phantom Wilm than Vlad, because you'll get more mileage out of it. I'd rather take the 70% assault than the 30% elemental attack. Especially since a mixed grid is going to have a lot of problems getting assault, because you're not focused on one element. 70% assault off of that is actually a big deal. That would set up and let me get a team of 5 elements, essentially get at least 100% assault in every category, because I can get 30% assault between each of them. Easily. But, anyways. That said, I'm going to leave this at that. Like I said, I don't know if more of this is going to come soon for, the Union events anyways. But, after I'm done grinding a little bit of EXP, I'm going to go back to ultimate killing, because it's going to be our day for that anyways. So, on that note, that's all I have for this video. There might be other videos popping up at some point too, because I plan on trying to branch out and do a few other things. And like I said, I'm in the process of learning how to create my own music with Traction, so you'll see a few of those videos pop up whenever I get around to finally doing it. But that's all for now, guys. I'm going back to grinding this, and take care.